Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we love geeky wisdom. We post new videos weekly, so please make sure you're subscribing and turning on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of the content. Wizards of the Coast just released its new 2022 Dungeons & Dragons Starter Set, which includes the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. This updated box set replaces the starter set that was released back in 2014, and it contained the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure. It's currently only available at Target, but it will get a wider release, I think, in October if everything goes well. I was lucky enough to find a copy of this D&D Starter Set at Target, and it was the only one that they had available at that store. And that may be an important bit of information all on its own, because it means D&D is popular enough right now for Target to sell out of these new things within days of receiving them. But on the other hand, it was likely the people savvy enough about D&D to even know that these were going to be released, and they really wanted to check it out. Maybe they were even excited enough to dance. Don't worry, Target will order more and get them in soon. And I will likely be doing a giveaway for one of these in the near future, just like I did in the recent video about the easiest way to play D&D. Today, I'm going to be just doing a quick look at what's in the set and my initial thoughts and how it stands up to the previous version, which you might remember I really liked. If you think you might play the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle adventure, you may want to use the video timestamps to skip over that part, just so you don't have any spoilers, but I'm going to try to keep it pretty spoiler free anyway, so don't worry. One other thing, like I said, the people who likely went and picked this up or got lucky enough to get one weren't actually beginners. They're the ones that either pre-ordered it or were able to get to the store on release day and grab it before they were sold out. So I just think, in my opinion, if we're going to review this set as a community, we need to kind of look at it from the standpoint of a brand new player, because I think that's who the intended audience is supposed to be. I could be wrong, but let's try to keep it that way, or at least I'm going to do that while I go through this video. Before even looking in the box, I was pretty happy with the overall look of the set. It brings sort of an update to the nostalgia I have about old D&D. And for those of you who are old enough to remember the D&D cartoon back in the 80s, you may recognize a few of the heroes featured in the artwork. So the biggest difference between this and the original starter set is the adventure. Instead of Lost Mine of Phandelver, this has a brand new adventure included in the box, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. More on that in a bit. The included rulebook is actually handled pretty well. It's similar to the last version, and it does a good job of compiling the basic rules that you need to get started, although it could be argued by some that the basic rules are already available for free on the Wizards of the Coast website, so you could just use those. But I think this rulebook goes further by kind of providing context for beginners. Like I said, audience matters. It's also a quality print with good visual design elements and artwork. The box set also includes 6 dice. They do the job. Nothing too fancy, it's just the 6 essential dice. Like the 2014 starter set, you'll get pre-generated characters here. And I think the layout and format of all 5 of these sheets are really good. They're easy to read, and they provide context throughout to kind of help a new player figure out what they need to know and what everything's used for. And the back of the sheet, just like the older version, contains details about the character, like their background and personality traits, but it also has something kind of unique in this version, which is a character sketch, which I always thought was kind of old school, and you did a little thumbnail sketch on a character sheet. That's nice. Finally, there's also this advertising insert with some additional information and a QR code so that you can provide your feedback. Meh. So what isn't in this box? Well, like the previous version, this starter set doesn't include any character creation rules, but I think that's a good thing for the intended audience. New players can pick up one of the pre-generated sheets, come up with a name, and then see how the game mechanics work while they're learning to play. They don't have to figure out how to even fill out the sheet. It's done for them. So it's easy to pick up the game and kind of run with it. And it explains things like the background and personality traits, and it makes things leveling up easier, like I said. So I think it's a good way to get people started. Again, the audience. So I said there were dice in the box, but there's only those 6, and that may be a downside to some people. It looks like the actual same dice that they had in the other starter set. I don't know if they just did another run of those dice and included them, or they had leftovers, but it seems to be those exact dice. I could be wrong, but what do I know? But I actually think it's a benefit to limit the number of dice just to the single dice types of D20, D12, D10, D8, D6, and D4. You see, even saying that previous sentence is a lot to learn for a brand new player. So let's do that again, this time with some visual aids. But I actually think it's a benefit to limit the number of dice just to the single dice types of D20, D12, D10, D8, D6, and D4. The way I see it, it may be easier for a brand new player to learn what the dice do once they figure out what each one of the dice is called and how many sides they have, and so just kind of limiting it to one makes sense, actually. Oh, I also mentioned that the characters that were included, those are in the box. They're not left out of the box. So what am I going to say that's missing? Well, opportunity. There was a missed opportunity to have those characters be the ones from the D&D cartoon. I mean, they have images and artwork throughout the box and even on the box of those characters. I guess because all those characters were human and they weren't elves and dwarves and halflings and that kind of thing, that maybe it was a little bland and boring for some. But I just think it would have been cool to actually have character sheets for Hank the Ranger and Eric the Cavalier and Diana the Acrobat and Presto the Magician and Sheila the Thief and Bobby the Barbarian. Of course, you need Bobby the Barbarian. They can't really have Uni in there as a character, but it could have been a sidekick. Maybe the Essentials kit. Sidekicks. Huh? What they could have done in this version is written them as examples in the rules, or even throw in a couple extra character sheets just to kind of break things up. If it didn't break the bank, it's not a huge deal, by the way. It just would have been cool, I think, to find out what their stats were. Anyway, you get the point. You may also be of the opinion that we're missing some of the Essentials kit stuff, but this isn't the Essentials kit. There's no DM screen, there's no player maps, there's no condition cards, there's no initiative trackers. They didn't have that in the first starter set, and they don't have it in this one. It doesn't even include any of the sidekicks or those expanded rules either. Again, wasn't in the original starter set. You may say that this is a bad choice, but I would argue they're probably going to release an Essentials kit. It might make sense for them from a business standpoint to just update both of these things. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest difference between this D&D starter set and the old one. It's the adventure, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. I'm not going to go do a full review. I feel it would be better doing that review if I actually ran the adventure. It would be a disservice to review it without having at least gone through it once, or at least spending more time reading through it and getting to know more about it. And I haven't done that yet, so I'm not going to do it yet, but I might later. You may remember that I like the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure. Sure, it has some issues, but I think it's a well-written, solid starting place for a DM and a player to kind of get their feet wet with D&D. I don't know how the gameplay of Dragons of Stormwreck Isle is going to kind of stack up to that other adventure, but I suspect it will work well for new players and DMs. It's definitely more concise as an adventure. It only takes you from first level to third level, but that might be a good choice. It may be better to go first to third with a starter set. Maybe the Essentials kit will take them through fifth, who knows? It seems like the chapters don't have to be run in order either, and there are notes just in case the DM has to adjust things because the players were tackling things in a different order. So sequential, yes, but could be flopped around a little bit. It seems like it works. And just in the little bit that I've read through it so far, the included DM tips are really easy to follow. And after I've had some time to either run it or examine it further, like I mentioned, I'll give you a more complete review. All right, should you buy it? Maybe. If you're brand new to D&D or you want to give it as an awesome gift to a friend or family member who wants to get started into D&D, this is a really good option, I think. And if you're a D&D fan who just wants to add it to the collection, go for it. But I wouldn't necessarily run out and grab one if you already have a starter set or an essentials kit or any of the core rule books that you need to play, at least until it goes on sale. I think it makes more sense if the price comes down a little bit. Another group of people who may want to run out and get this are those that really just want the adventure. Now, that said, I would expect that at some point in the future, just like with Lost Mine of Phandelver, they will have this adventure on D&D Beyond, especially since Wizards of the Coast have acquired D&D Beyond since probably putting this together. So Dragons of Stormwreck Isle isn't available on D&D Beyond right now, but maybe it will be later this year or next. All right, thanks for sticking with me, and I will likely be doing a giveaway, like I mentioned, to have one of these new starter sets for one of our subscribers. And maybe we'll do that when we hit some type of subscriber milestone. But for all of you beginners out there who are just getting started, let me leave you with a little geek philosophy from Mark Twain. The secret to getting ahead is getting started. Cheers.